Hey, church. This is just a continuing the conversation on the sermon on Acts chapter 1, which is the beginning of our study of the book of Acts that we're calling Breakthrough. The movement begins. And in the sermon, we ask the question, do you really believe that the Holy Spirit still has power and is moving and working? Because too often in our world, we tend to ask God to bless things or do things that we would not want to do ourselves, meaning that we're always hoping for a supernatural thing to happen without us being put into the mix of the work. And God desires us to work with Him. That's what we're saved for, so we can do the work with Him. Now, in the message today, I did not talk about the ascension, what that means to us today, because we haven't quite come up to the traditional day of ascension. And we'll talk about what the ascension means on June 2nd this year. The other thing is we didn't talk so much about what it means to wait on God. In the message we talked about kind of what it looks like, but see, the reason that we want to wait on God is to make sure, like I said, that we don't do the wrong thing or the right thing at the wrong time. On the other side of that, we want to make sure that we don't do the wrong thing even if it might be the right time. So we want to make sure that we are filled with His Spirit, that we have received His Word, that we have received God's vision for our world. And God's vision for our world is so much bigger and grander than anything we can ever dream of. So we're challenged with constantly thinking about the mission as so much bigger than we can even think about or that we can even fathom. And God, like we said in the message, God will always supply His power for His mission. So the reason that we kept saying that is because the ministry and the mission work that we do is not our work. It is a work that God is doing in us and through us. So we are participating in the mission of Jesus Christ in this world, to the least, to the last, to the lost. And that's why it's so important to remove the language of, quote unquote, those people from our vocabulary. Because if we think about it, we are part of someone else's, quote unquote, those people where we keep at arm's length and where someone keeps us at arm's length. But we want to really focus on the power of the Holy Spirit. Does this mean that we just sit and just expect things to happen? No, because we have a part to play in this. And if we don't do anything, then we are not fully living into the people that God is calling us to be. Prayer is not just sitting by passively hoping for things to happen. Prayer is seeking where God is. Prayer is talking with God continually. Prayer is listening to what God has to say through His people, through His Spirit, through His Word, through situations. So as we go out into the world, in fact, the command of Jesus in Matthew 28 is go and make disciples. He's saying, as you go, as you are already on your way. When we add that to Acts 1:8, we see that as we go, we are going to receive the power to do the mission, where we get to go and do the work of God in Jerusalem, where we live, in Judea and Samaria, in our county and state, and to the ends of the world. Do we really believe that the Holy Spirit works? I'm asking because we need to make sure. In order to see great things from God, we have to be willing to do the work that God calls us to do, which means we sacrificially give. We don't just give because it's what we have left over. We sacrificially give because we trust God in our time, in our money, in our relationships. We trust God with everything. So as we look at this movement of the Holy Spirit, and we look at some main parts in the book of Acts during this next 7 weeks, I'm challenging us really to pay attention to the movement of the Holy Spirit in our lives and how He is really working, living, and asking us to do incredible things. And when we fully trust and our eyes are open, just watch, because it will be incredible. Amen.